everybody. Welcome to ABA Inside Track, the podcast that's like reading in your car, but safer. I'm your host, Robert Perry Cruz, on this balmy November 2024 preview episode of the show. And I'm joined, as always, with my fabulous co-hosts.
Hi, it's almost time for me to not be second anymore because it's November. I only have one more month. Well, this month and next month, and then I'm back to number 3.
And it's me, Diana Perry Cruz. Hi.
You two with your weird co-host announcing rule-governed behavior.
That was Jackie.
That's Diana. Well, welcome everybody to our podcast about behavior analysis and behavior analytic research, where every week we pick a topic and discuss research about that topic at length, except for at the beginning of the month on the free feed and the end of the month for our patrons, where instead we talk about some other goings-on as well as what you can expect for the next month of ABA Inside Track. And as we record this, fall is starting to kind of wind down into the winter season where we are. However, it is very warm outside. So
it really varies.
It's all over the place.
Yeah.
It was 30 one day, 70 the next day. You just don't know how to wear it. Yesterday, for instance, I wore a huge sweater in the morning. Then I downgraded 2 hours later to a lighter sweater. And then I downgraded 2 hours later to a t-shirt. And then I downgraded 2 hours later for a tanky. And then
some sort of like shaping procedure you were.
1 hour later, I added back on the t-shirt. Yeah. Then I added back on the sweater. Then I changed out that sweater for the bigger sweater and a jacket and a hat.
Yeah,
so
that sounds like a good meme where you sort of have like a graph of like New England fall clothes. You know?
It was ridiculous.
Right.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah. Yes. If you're like going out for the day, you have to really prepare
for everything.
Yeah, a lot of layers. A lot of layers.
Well, if you don't want to be involved with these weather shenanigans and you're like, I'll just stay inside where it's climate controlled and listen to podcasts, why don't we tell you what podcasts, at least from us, I can't speak for every podcast, but for us, what you'll be listening to in the upcoming weeks.
Okay, so we have 3 episodes prepared for you. The first one is our seasonal grab bag. It's the fall grab bag. And I just was looking, I was like, what is the name of this fall grab bag? And it does have a themed name. So it's Spooky Grab Bags to Tell in the Dark. I don't know if this is coming out after Halloween. It is, because this is the November preview, but it's close enough that you can still be enjoying the spooky season.
Surprise, we do not plan the titles of our grab bag episodes that far in advance that we can make sure they're seasonally
It's close. It's close. It's close, and that's fine. So in case you're unfamiliar with a grab bag, we each choose an article / have it randomly assigned to us that usually it's on a theme that we already kind of enjoy, and we talk about that, but there's no overarching thematic plot to the episode. It's just 3 different articles. So for this episode, we have 3 articles, 1 for each of us, and the first one is titled, So, do speech disfluencies matter? A parametric evaluation of filler sounds and words. And that was by Lasky and DeGennaro Reed, published in the Journal of Applied Behavior Analysis 2024. Also, inter-observer agreement among a staff member and visitors at a wolf sanctuary by Onker and Jacobs. That was in Behavior Analysis and Practice 2024. And finally, remote teaching of A-B graphs in Microsoft Excel by Mondati, Reeve, Vladescu, DeBar, and Thomas. And that was in Behavior Analysis and Practice 2024.
And as we all know, the scariest thing is the weak control you get from an A-B graph. Ooh.
Yeah, so longtime listeners may be able to identify which of each of those articles was selected by which of each of us, but I will save that information for the episode so you can go check it out and find out.
You can have the shortest drinking game ever.
Yep.
Yeah, right. Just
3 drinks.
3 sips. That's all you got.
Yeah, we got to put that on DraftKings so I can take bets.
All right. And then after that, we have an episode that we've titled How to Stop Lying. And in that episode, we are joined by Dr. Corey Stocco to talk about some of his research and his colleagues' research as well. And there's 2 articles that we'll review in that episode. They are called Increasing Young Children's Honest Reports and Decreasing Their Transgressions by Lahardy, Luzinski, Stocco, Fallon, and Rodriguez. That was published in JABA 2022. And also Further Evaluation of Contingencies of Lying About Homework Completion by Stocco, Moline, and Bauer. And that was in Behavioral Interventions 2021. So we were super excited and lucky to get joined by a different Corey than last month. New Corey Stocco.
But same caliber of Corey.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Top-notch Corey's all around. And it's a cool episode, too. Everyone should listen in. And then to wrap up November, we also had a listener choice episode. Our patrons, Patreon members get a chance to vote every quarter on an episode that they would like to hear about. And this quarter, they chose behavioral artistry, which is a cool and interesting topic. And we had a cool and interesting conversation about it. So there are 4. Did we talk about all 4 of these?
I think so.
Okay, then I'm going to tell you.
Yes, we did, because the last one was our rolling up into dissemination station.
Yes. Okay. Well, it may not be the last one in the order I'm about to tell you.
Oh, I remember. Yes, we did talk about one because I ground my gears at the end of that episode.
Sure. Okay. So lots to discuss here. The articles we talked about include Behavioral Artistry, Examining the Relationship Between the Interpersonal Skills and Effective Practice Repertoires of Applied Behavior Analysis Practitioners by Callahan, Fox, Swizernsky, Ertz, Mehta, McComb, Nichols, Segal, Donald, and Sharma. And that was in the Journal of Autism and Developmental Disorders 2019. Also, Developing Procedures to Improve Therapist-Child Rapport in Early Intervention by Lugo, King, Lamphere, and McCardle. And that was in Behavior Analysis and Practice 2017. Also, Training Behavior Technicians to Become Behavior Artists through the Teaching Interaction Procedure by Bookspan, Anderson, Moon, Kaplan, and Leaf. And that was in Behavioral Interventions 2023. And finally, it is the Jack Tizard Memorial Lecture, Decreasing Behaviors, Clinical, Ethical, and Environmental Issues by Fox, published in Australia and New Zealand Journal of Developmental Disabilities, 1985.
Wow.
The article that started it all in terms of this area, or coining the term, perhaps.
I do.
Yeah, so lots to look forward to.
It's a lot. It was we had a good time. We did that episode a little while ago, though. We're going to the Wayback Machine. So we've got all those episodes coming out this November. And as a reminder, for Behavioral Artistry, the listener choice episode, if you are a patron at the $5 or up level, you will be getting a link, or you'll be getting kind of a link in your feed to see the video, the raw video of the episode. And whether you want to listen to it or watch us do the episode, either way is good. But on that video link, just so it's just safe just for you, you'll be able to get a discount code for 100% off the CE if you choose to get a CE for that episode as a thank you for being a patron. So not only did you get to choose that episode, but you get the CE just for you.
Thank you for being
so thank you.
Patron.
And if you want to watch us, how we actually record an episode rather than the finely tuned edited versions that come out, hey, you know what? Go for it. You'll have access to that video as well. A lot more swearing and, ribald humor that we got to cut out of the main things. So that's what we've got coming out in November.
I know we're saying we recorded that a long time ago. It actually, when I look at it, it was only 3 weeks ago that we recorded that. I know.
That was way longer than 3 weeks ago.
No, it wasn't.
Wow.
Yeah. I know.
Time is a flat circle. Well, okay. So that's what we have coming up in November. And let's move into the errata section of the preview where we talk about everything else. Certainly, conference season is kind of always going on around the world. But, at least for the conferences we tend to be able to go to, it's starting to wind down a little, have a little winter break. So all of us are going to the Stone Soup virtual conference that if you're getting this on the patron feed, you missed it. Actually, everyone missed it. You missed it.
It will have just happened.
If you didn't go, you missed it. It just happened.
So hopefully you were tuned into us on socials and other capacities, because that's where we posted about it.
Yes. And so
before the conference.
we posted. So hopefully you saw it and you got to go. We always have a blast going there. So we will have gone to that as this comes out. We also had just come back from, as of this recording, the Babbitt 2024 conference. That was excellent. We had a great time. We did trivia at the Mercantile in Worcester the night before Babbitt started, or their workshops. They do workshops on Wednesday, and that was a lot of fun. We got some feedback on some of the sections that were more loved than others. I'm going to do more examples, I think, on some of my tests, because everyone said, "What was that section? I got it at the end when you told me the answers, but I didn't understand," for one or two of our games. But we had almost all new content. So if you were there, which is not going to be everyone listening, thank you. If you weren't there, well, you might want to go to Worcester next year, because maybe we'll be doing it again. Who knows? And we had, the number of good talks. I know there's a few that we wanted to mention. I know one of the ones that I enjoyed on Friday was Kaylin Partlow, who she described herself also as an influencer, but she is an RBT. She's an autistic RBT. And she spoke kind of the midday on Friday invited address and really talked about the idea of how are we talking to other individuals who do not like ABA about ABA in a way that is not just trying to affirm, no, it's really nice now. We don't like spank kids like Lovas did in the 70s and 80s. You should like us, and how that is ineffective. And we got to watch, I think I watched more kind of TikTok clips and people talking about ABA online than I've ever watched in my whole life, all the TikTok in one place. And I thought it was important because it gave, I think, all of us practitioners a chance to really sit with individuals who, some of them did not like ABA and presented it in ways that really explained stories from their life as to why ABA had caused trauma. Other people just saying, I hate ABA and you'll never convince me otherwise, you're all the worst. And just having to kind of sit with that and have a chance to reflect on it is not something that many of us get to do. I mean, I'm sure some of us have had people tell us you're bad for doing ABA online. Maybe you've had families who are like, I don't really like ABA. But usually it's in a setting where you can sort of be like, well, that person, I'm not going to think too much on it. So really just having to sit with that discomfort, that's not something I think most of us have to do. And it's really hard to come up with, well, how would you respond in a way that is appropriate, that doesn't just make it sound like you are trying to get really defensive or aggressive towards someone saying something you don't like. And that's not something I get to do at conferences very often. So it was a really interesting experience. So thank you very much, Kaylin Partlow, for speaking. Any other things?
Yeah, well, in regard to that, I think that information is definitely out there if people want to seek it out, but it is in, more media savvy spaces. So
places I don't go.
Right. And one can find a lot of information on there, but you do have to look for it. And if you're only interacting in a really insular like BCBA community, you may not have accessed some of that previously. So I think it's awesome that Babbitt invited her to come talk. She was amazing, and she likely reached some additional people who maybe had not heard of her or maybe hadn't had a chance to think about some of these things before. And that's what advocacy is all about, right? So we were excited that she was there and that she got to kind of spread some of that message and more people heard it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to go to a workshop on Wednesday.
Nice.
And it was by Dr. Tyra Sellers, she's been on the show. And it was looking about reflective practices and supervision and thinking about scope of competence in the profession. So that it was really eye-opening. It gave me a lot of opportunity to reflect and think about and my values and what I want to do as a supervisor and in my job and what I'm not doing. So yeah, it was great.
Dr. Nasia Strancione-Ulizzi also gave the invited address on Thursday morning, and she talked about reflective practices as well. Or maybe it was Friday. Sorry, maybe it was Friday, but it was really good too. Mm-hmm. I got my days mixed up.
And one talk I did not get to see. I was not able to go on Thursday this year, but there was a talk on behavior analysts collaborating. The theme was collaboration with school members around school attendance, which is, I think, might be the first time since maybe the late 80s, early 90s that anyone at Babbitt has talked about school refusal, because that's actually where some of the early talks on school refusal and behavior analysis was at Babbitt. I found that out many years ago when I just looked, it was in a reference somewhere. But Dr. Taylor Thorne and colleagues did a talk, and I was not able to go, but I did email Dr. Thorne, and she was kind enough to send her slides over and offer to chat about the work that she and her team are doing around school attendance. So I have not had a chance to. I looked at the slides and they were excellent. There were a lot of kind of more tier 1, tier 2 type work, which is not usually where I've focused. I'm not usually involved in teams at that level, but it is very fascinating work. And, when we talk about scaling our work, really is where that work needs to be. Wouldn't it be better if we did things before they became horribly tough, intractable problems? I think so. And she also wrote that she is a big fan of the show, which, you know what? If you're going to send me your slides and offer to talk to me about what you've been studying, and you want to say you like our podcast, well, you're the tops. Dr. Thorne, you're the tops. So thank you so much. I'm very looking forward to continuing that conversation. Well, I think that is kind of all our conference wrap up. We can't talk too much about Stone Soup. I know we always have fun, but we haven't gone in time. We'll have gone by the time you're getting this. So we're just kind of getting to the end. And while sometimes we do some anecdotes and whatnot, we're all tired. We all climbed a mountain earlier today, all of us together, and a number of other
literal mountain.
That's
literally
what I was
climbed
about to say. A literal mountain, not metaphorical.
No, we climbed a literal mountain.
That's a personal journey.
And then we climbed down a literal mountain, and we're all ready to start wrapping up. But let's not do that without reading a couple emails.
Okay, I have one. I have one from listener Natalie. And she says that she regularly recommends our show to colleagues, coworkers, friends, and family. Wow, everyone.
Thanks, Natalie.
So thank you.
Maybe they're like our family. They're like where almost everyone's a BCBA or in human services.
Yeah. So she said that she is hosting an online training for everyone in her school district interested in learning about fresh starts or New Year's resolutions. It was from a little bit ago. And she loved episode 151 to help her with that one. And she also asked us if we had any episodes that reviewed the concept of job crafting. And we did. So it was episode 199 with Dr. Julie Slowak.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that episode. So I wanted to just highlight that.
And episode 151 is where we talked about fitness and I think we called it fake resolutions with Dr. Nick Green. Yeah.
So I just wanted to highlight that those are still around and you can still listen to them.
It's like time again.
Yeah, it is. It's coming up.
We're gearing up on resolution season.
Yeah.
And then I had a listener email as well from Gerardo. And Gerardo and I wrote back and forth a little bit about CEU stuff. But then at the end, he said, thank you for all your help. What can I do to have people hear about the show? And I had told him truly, the best thing to do is if everyone out there listening can keep telling their colleagues about us. I know sometimes people are like, oh, you guys have been around for so long. Everyone's heard of you. I don't think that that's the case. I think there's a lot of people out there that haven't heard of us. So if you, as our faithful listeners, could help us out by telling other people that we exist and pointing them toward us in any fashion, we would really and truly appreciate it. So thank you, everyone who's done that. And that's just a tidbit for anybody who hadn't thought of it.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you, Jardo, for writing in.
And if you think that we get tired of people saying, oh, I've listened to your show, we never will. Never. We promise.
Never.
Never.
No. We're not too big for our britches.
We can't satiate enough.
No.
I listened to your show. Thank you.
No, we're like tiny. It's like a tiny field, and we're like tiny little fish in a tiny field, I think. So.
All right. Well, I think that brings us to the end of our November 2024 preview. We have a lot of fun episodes coming up as we continue our march to episode 300 in the new year. I can't believe that's happening. But we'll have some exciting things to talk about next month's preview as we get into the winter months. But hopefully everyone is enjoying the fall wherever they may be. And we'll be back next week with
the northern hemisphere.
The northern hemisphere, or the summer if you're in the southern. What is it? Spring?
It would be spring.
Spring in the southern hemisphere. Wherever you are, we hope you're having a grand time, no matter the season. And we'll be back next week with the first of our full-length, fun-filled November episodes. But until then, keep responding. Bye.
Bye.